So, Ashton Jeanty, that's the biggest name to know, and I'll get to Maddux Madsen here in just a moment. But Ashton Jeanty is the biggest name to know going into this game against Boise State. He is someone who could have gone to a bigger school. I am 100% certain, without having a sourced report, that Ashton Jeanty had bigger schools come and offer him more money. This is an NFL guy, no question about it. He could play for any team in college football. He's really good. And when you watch the tape of what he did last week against Georgia Southern, the offensive line, I'll talk about them in just a moment, they had a really good game, but his ability to break tackles was elite because he is elite at breaking tackles. That's what makes him such a special, dynamic, and explosive player. He is the centerpiece of this Boise State offense. He is where the offense runs through. If you're Oregon, you've got to be able to take him out of it. If you do that, I absolutely love Oregon's chances in this game. Now, does that guarantee that you're going to be able to slow Ashton Jeanty down just because Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoy and Chris Hampton and everybody knows, hey, number 2 is going to get the football quite a bit? Nope. Because sometimes a safety comes down in the box to make an open field tackle, he misses, and Jeanty picks up another 8 to 10 yards. That's what he was doing all last week. He has got breakaway speed. He can run between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles, anything you want. He is a total workhorse, all-purpose back, going to have a good NFL career. Once he gets to the NFL, if he gets to the right situation, this is a guy you draft on your fantasy team. So I think that Ashton Jeanty is phenomenal. I think if he were on Oregon's roster, he'd probably start over Jordan James and Noah Whittington, who everydayers know I like a lot. Both were quite good in the first game when they, actually had chances to run. But that's the distinct difference here that I think is going to play itself out. Last week, Ashton Jeanty had some Grand Canyon-wide chasms to run through against Georgia Southern, which by Sun Belt standards, I think was supposed to be decent. Georgia Southern with Clay Helton the last couple of years, they've been okay. Not great, not terrible. They've been okay. I think they had one all-conference guy in the Sun Belt up there. They didn't have anybody that would start on this Oregon defensive line. I have said for a long time, and it looked that way in week 1, that this is the best Oregon defensive line since the 2014 unit that had DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead. I think this unit is deeper than that one. Doesn't quite have the high-end talent because those were 2 top 10 NFL draft picks. I don't think Oregon has a singular top 10 NFL draft pick on this defensive line, but they're guys that will play at the next level to be sure. And I thought that DJ Harmon, Jamari Caldwell, Jordan Birch, Tatum Tuioti, Mateto Uiagalelei, those were the guys that you saw make an impact last week. They're going to be called upon once again. Specifically when you're defending the run, your defensive tackles can't get moved. You've got to be able to swallow up double teams, create lanes for your linebackers to get downhill and make tackles and not allow Jeanty to have too many yards before he is first contacted. So I thought the defensive line was great last week. I had high hopes for them coming into the year. They were phenomenal. I had no qualms. As I said earlier this week on the show, I had no qualms with this Oregon defense. I really didn't. They gave up a trick play. They gave up an amazing catch and a well-timed screen pass. That was it. They had 217 yards of total offense, did Idaho. That's what it should look like when you go up against an FCS opponent. They only strung together one drive that resulted in a touchdown. They pitched a shutout in the first half. I think the defense through 1 week is as advertised. The offense, of course, was not. But this Boise State offensive line, which is clearly capable, I don't care what team you're going up against, as evidenced by Oregon going up against Idaho last week, you have to be good to create running lanes. They were creating, you literally, in a couple of holes, I think you could have fit a car into the hole. Now, from there, Ashton Jeanty makes guys miss. He's got lateral movement. He's got strength. He's got a stiff arm that's nasty. He's the whole package. But one of the reasons that my confidence as this week has gone on is growing in Oregon's ability to win this game and to do so comfortably is if you take away Ashton Jeanty, Maddux Madsen doesn't scare me. Is he a capable quarterback? Yes. He beat out Malachi Nelson, who has elite physical traits, but has not really played college football, and Madsen beat him out. And last year, in the middle of the season, Madsen beat out Taylon Green, who's now starting over at Arkansas. So clearly, they like something about this guy. He is not somebody that is, number one, in charge of an offense that's going to do this, but number two, I don't think he's really capable of going out and winning the game with the offense running through him. He is a complementary piece at quarterback who wants to throw for 200 to 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that's it. That's what he is as a quarterback. His arm is not going to torch you, and last week he was going up against Georgia Southern. This week he's going up against an Oregon secondary that, quite frankly, for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part, played really well. And we'll see what the availability of Kobe Savage is. He was wearing a club on his right hand, I think it was, at practice this week, but was taking part in drills that the media saw. If not, then Tyler Turner probably sees another increased run. But I like this Oregon secondary, and I'm not afraid of Maddux Madsen. It doesn't mean he won't make throws that will make you go, wow, how did he do that? Or, man, that was a really good throw. He'll do that from time to time, but you got to make him be the reason that Boise State puts up points and not Ashton Jeanty, because that sets up the play action game and gets him some easy throws and gets him in rhythm. You got to get the crowd into it early, put him in third and medium, put him in third and long, must pass situations. And the other factor with this game, Oregon needs to be able to make 3rd down and 3 a passing down. Boise State on, I think, anything less than 3rd and 5, frankly, kind of wants to run the football. Dirk Cutter's their offensive coordinator. He's been in the NFL. He's actually with Boise State a couple of years ago, and he's come back this year on Spencer Danielson's staff. I think that Boise State, in a perfect world, can run the ball on 3rd and 3. Oregon's got to be able to set the tone early and establish the line of scrimmage to make sure that Jeanty cannot get rolling and that they feel, hey, it's 3rd and 3. We can't just hand the football off. We're not getting enough push up front. We are unable to consistently make that a running down. So that's something I definitely want to see from Oregon's defense in this game, but I have confidence in the defensive line. I think that negates Boise State's greatest strength, which is Ashton Jeanty, and that's why my confidence is growing. I'll have my prediction tomorrow on the show, but I think that is Boise State's greatest singular strength. And then conversely, the defense allowed 45 to Georgia Southern. And by the way, Georgia Southern created explosive passing plays. 1 week you can put as a one-off, but if there's a second week in which Oregon is not pushing the ball down the field and they're not performing the way they're capable of offensively, my concern level will go up, because I have seen this very defense just less than a week ago against a vastly inferior opponent compared to Oregon, at least they should be, in Georgia Southern, put up 45 points. Does college football always make sense? Are there random swings and matchups that make sense on paper and don't play out in the real world? Yes, of course that's the case. Oregon should be able to put up at least 35 points in this game. And I don't think Boise State can get to that number if that defensive line shows up, and I think they will. So I feel good about Oregon being able to neutralize the greatest strength for Boise State, which is number 2 in the backfield. And that's why my confidence is growing. We'll see where my score prediction lands on tomorrow's show.